Welcome back, it's Zion from Uke on Demand, and this week we're going over the Skye Boat song. We're going to go over the first part of the lesson in this video, but you can get the rest of the tutorial and all the tabs over at ukeondemand.com. So let's get started. So the first bar, played slowly, will sound like this. So to play that part, we're going to start out in a C5, which is just open G, open C, ring finger on the 3rd fret of the E, and we're just going to ignore the A string for right now. So we just pick those top 3 strings. Immediately after, leaving the finger where it is, we're going to pick the A string, followed by the E string. Moving into measure 2, we're just going to hop that ring finger over to the next string, so it's now on the 3rd fret of A. And we're going to add our index finger to the 2nd fret of the G. Now this is an A minor. You might be more used to an A minor looking like this, which is 2nd fret of the G, and then everything else is open. That's correct too. This is just another version of it. So we're going to strum that once. Leaving the chord where it is, we're going to pick the A string, so it's already at the 3rd fret where it needs to be. Sliding up, we're going to be going into a D minor. Now, D minor is usually down here, but for here, we're going to be doing a barred D minor. So it's going to be barring the 5th fret, the index finger, and the ring finger on the 7th fret of the G. Now if this bar chord is tricky for you, and if bar chords in general are tricky for you, you can do a double bar so it's your index finger on that 5th fret, can lay that middle finger on top of the 1st finger just for a little more pressure. This isn't the best way to do a bar chord, but if you need to in a pinch, it's totally fine. There's also a second way to make this chord easier. You can simplify it. You can completely ignore the G string, so don't strum it. And starting at that C string instead, just strum the 5th frets of C, E, and A. You can do that as well, just as long as you don't hit the G. And so moving on, we're going to, whichever way you do it, we're going to strum that once. Pick the 7th fret of the A, followed by the 5th fret. And then from here, we're going to simply slide the bar up 2 more frets, so it's at the 7th fret, and we'll have our pinky on the 10th fret of the A. And this is a barred G chord. And that brought us actually into the next part of bar 2. So we'll go back to the beginning of bar 1 and play it together very slowly. Very good. And so next we're going to be going into a new type of A minor. There's 2 ways to do this. If you have relatively large hands, this will be a little bit easier for you, but it will be the 2nd fret of the G string and the pinky on the 7th fret of the A. Now if this is a very hard reach, there is a second option, thankfully. You can do what you might be more used to as an E minor shape, but we're going to be starting it all the way up at the 7th fret, so it's now an A minor. So as long as you don't hit the G string and start at the C instead, it'll be the index on the 7th fret of A, middle on the 8th fret of E, and a ring finger on the 9th fret of C. And starting from that C string, you can do that version instead. This is a little less work than trying to get all 3 fingers there, but if this is a little bit wide, then this will work no problem. All right, whichever way you do it, we're going to strum that chord once, and then we're going to pick the 5th fret immediately followed by the 7th fret of A. So it'll look like this, so 5th fret to 7th. And from this position, if you chose to do it this way, you can just slide that index finger back to the 7th. Either way is fine. And then going into the next measure, we're going to drop down into a regular F chord. There's nothing fancy with this chord. It's going to be just the 2nd fret of the G and 1st fret of the E. And strum that once. Then pick the open A by itself into another C5, which is the chord, first chord we did at the beginning of the song. Alright, let's put this bar together very slowly now that you've learned it. We're going to come up back here to the barred G chord. So moving into bar 3 now, we're going to have a little bit of a lead in because we repeat this, essentially this first verse again, it's practically identical. But before that, we have a little bit of a lead in first. So we're going to pick the 1st fret of the E, and it'll sound like this. So you heard that little intro section first. So we're going to pick the 1st fret of E, open E, 2nd fret of C. Moving on, this next part is practically identical to what we just learned. There's only a couple differences, and they're very small. But starting, again, we're at that C5, so just going to strum that once. Leave the finger there, pick the A string, followed by the E string. And then back to the A minor with the 3rd fret of the A. Now here's difference number 1. Instead of picking that 3rd fret of the A twice, like we did before, we're just going to pick it once now. And then back to the D minor, whichever way you did it, either without the G string, or full bar, or the stacked bar, whichever way you like to do it. We're going to strum that once again. And then 7th fret, followed by the 5th fret of A. And next bar, I'm going into bar 4 now. We have that same barred G chord from before. So again, that's barring the 7th fret, pinky on the 10th fret of the A, or your ring finger if that's a little more comfortable for you. Then again, we have that really long A minor. So we can either do it this way, or you can do it this way. Whichever way you like best. We're going to strum that once. Then pick the 5th fret, followed by the 7th fret of A. Down into a normal F chord. Pick the A string once. And back to a C5. So that's the first 4 bars of this song. Let's back up a little bit to the beginning of bar 3. You'll see it on your screen. And we'll just play those last 8 measures one more time very slowly. and that's how to play the first part of the Skye Boat song. To get the rest of the tutorial and all the tabs, head over to ukeondemand.com and subscribe below so you don't miss our upcoming fingerstyle tutorials. We'll see you next time.